All right, guys, today we got a fun video for you. We're going to be foaling around. We got a foal here that needs to get halter started that Sam brought over, so let's jump into it. All right, so excited to have this video. This is always a fun thing. So this is my friend Sam. She brought her mare and foal over here, and she was already coming over for a lesson with Emily, and so she thought she'd bring her foal over. Do you have a name for him?
Cypress.
Cypress. And how old is Cypress?
Cypress is 3.5 months old, and he's a registered Shire sport horse.
All right. He's just a little thing too, huh?
Yeah, he's just, just a little guy.
Yeah, no, he's going to be a big foal. How many months old is he?
3.5.
3.5, okay.
Yeah.
Very good. And tell me a little bit about the handling that you've done with him so far to this point.
I've been with him since about 40 minutes after his birth, and we imprinted him, and every day we just kind of spend time with him in the pasture, rubbing on him and picking his feet up, and we've had a halter on him, but as Ryan will probably hopefully help with, the first time we asked him to follow a feel, he flipped over backwards. And so
yeah, so that's actually a really common thing. One of the things that you guys that have been following me for a while, you know that I always say, getting a horse to follow a feel with steady pressure is one of the most innately scary things. And you can see that with wild horses, or you can see it with foals. And a lot of people, because they're little and cute, a lot of people kind of underplay how important it is, that initial contact with them. And they have like a strong trigger response right behind the back of their head, behind their ears, where their poll is, where if they feel any pressure there, it's innate in them to just push back into it with everything they got, and they end up flipping over. And so that's one of the big things that we got to be careful of when you're halter starting them. So Sam got reminded of that. With hers. So, but luckily he's been wearing a halter a little bit. He's comfortable with people. So what I'm going to do to start with, we're going to work on getting him to follow a feel. That is going to be the big goal of this lesson. But I want you to understand that we can get him to follow a feel from anywhere on his body, and it lives in the same box as following a feel forward off the halter. So ironically, following a feel forward off a halter is the most difficult feel for them to follow. It actually is much easier for them to follow a feel with their hindquarters or their shoulder or their neck. The feet is actually all easier than the halter being on. So what I'm going to have you do is go ahead and clip your lead rope to your mare. And then I'm just going to kind of just see how comfortable he is with me being around him. And then I'm actually going to put a lariat rope on him. And the reason is that's going to be just around his neck, which is actually a lot easier and comfortable for a horse to handle. And it also gives me lots of room, so if he takes off running, I can just kind of let it go and that sort of thing. Now, one thing I would recommend, we're in a round pen here today. The biggest reason we're in a round pen is for filming's sake. It's a lot easier to capture this in the lighted up area. If we put him in the stall barn, it's a little dark, and it just wouldn't be as good for filming. I also feel very comfortable handling my rope and that sort of thing, but from a skill perspective from the human, it's a little harder out here than it would be in a big space. So I would highly recommend that if you're doing this, maybe like a 20 by 20 area would be a good size space to have the mare and foal in together. Very good. So he's obviously very comfortable with you. We'll just see if he's comfortable with me as well. He's a cutie, huh? Oh, and you nibble too? Okay, so we can see he's really comfortable to touch. This is fantastic. This is the first step that they should have, is just where they're not afraid of the humans. I'm not a huge believer in doing a ton of work with the babies. I think they need to get raised up and have more of a natural upbringing. I buy a lot of my weanlings from Circle Bar Ranch, where I love how they raise them. I love how they wean them from their mares. It's a really natural process, and it doesn't create any long-term herd-bound issues with them. So I like the amount of handling that he's had, where he's comfortable with people. He's not afraid. He's not afraid of things, but at the same time, he's not overly desensitized to everything either. Okay, so we got this around here for now, and there's a few different ways we can do this. But just because I have a rope on him doesn't mean I have any control. So if I need to, I could let him go. Sam's going to be ready to have to move out of the way. But it's actually a lot easier to get him to accept following a feel here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask him to just follow a feel off to the side here. So I'm just going to kind of walk in a weird way, put a little feel here. He took a step, and I'll release. So he went backwards, but then he came over to the right just a little bit. And now Sam, I'll have you just walk over this way. And we're going to use the natural draw from the mare. And see, I'll put a little feel on him here. Whoop. So now I got to kind of set up and pick my battle there. There we go. Got him to turn and face there. We'll try that again. So I'm just going to ask him to just do a little turn here. So asking a horse to step off to the side is way easier than asking them to step forward. So again, I'm just trying to get a lateral. There it is. There's a good lateral step. But I pick my battles, meaning when he's leaving, if he's going away from me, that's a bad time to put a feel on the halter or the lead rope, the lariat rope. What do we got in our hands here? So I'm going to pick my battles, and I'm just looking to isolate, can I get either a hind quarter yield or a fore quarter yield to start with. So here, I'd like to get a little yield here, and I'm going to hold, and I'm waiting for him to step off of it, okay? So that's the other thing is we have to kind of mimic a post, so I'm holding, I'm not pulling. I put a little bit of a feel on it here, and then I'm going to hold and wait for him to step off that pressure. Very good, just like that. Now, if you're in a little area, this is easier because obviously in this big area, there's a lot more room. So if he wants to wander off here, I'll just follow him, okay? And he's getting used to ropes being around him and that sort of thing. But I am doing what's called a get-to situation. So what I mean by that is I only get to put a feel on him when the conditions are set up for success. If the conditions are not set up for success, and you can kind of just protect your space if you need to, Sam. If the conditions are not set up, I'll just follow him here. All right, so here, things have slowed down just a little bit. I want to put a little feel, see if I can get him to stop. Here again, put a little feel, ask him to come off of it. Good boy. Hold here, hold and wait. Good. Now he's already kind of learned to push into pressure from flipping over. And so there's going to be moments where he has to learn to come through that. And so I'm not going to completely avoid putting him in some of the more difficult situations. I could make this, we could make this a lot easier. We could put a rope around his chest and his butt and kind of do that kind of thing. But I feel like given his age and what his experience already is, he needs to start learning to come off of a feel up here, that he's ready for this. Luckily, his confidence is at a place where he is really ready for this. Good boy. Very good. And then I'll just do a couple of reapproaches here. If he was a little younger and a little less experienced, I wouldn't even have anything on his head and neck. I would have like a butt rope and a chest rope, like something in front of him here and then something behind him here. There you go. Good boy. But because he's big enough and strong enough, I do think he can learn to come off a feel from the rope here. So that's what we're going to chip away at. So again, I'm waiting for a yield. Perfect. Good boy. So you can see just a little bit of peppering it in. The biggest thing that I would mention here is, number one, we didn't put a halter on straight away. So you have to be comfortable with a lariat rope. If you weren't comfortable, you could just clip a rope that maybe can't tighten on their neck. You could have like a knot here or something that you clip it to. But it is easier having something just around their neck for them to accept than having a halter on. And now that I see how tame he is, I think I'm actually going to go ahead and just put the halter on him and let him wear it for now. Because I do think by the end here, we probably can get him following a feel from that. Now, the other thing with these horses, this session is going to end up being slightly longer. Sam drove a long ways to be here. But at the same time, you don't want to overcook these little babies. You just want to kind of pepper things in. So we're just going to let him get used to wearing this. And again, he's already had one of these on And this is way too big for him, but this is what I got. But it'll work. It'll do. Okay. So again, ask for a little step here. And what I'm going to do is just get a few more of these little yields here. And then we're going to move the mare around the pen, and we're going to ask him to follow a feel from this before we ask him to follow her. Okay? So like here, we're turning. Now Sam, go ahead and walk on. Just slow a little bit. And it's going to kind of look like he knows how to follow a feel. Now stop there, Sam. Oh. See here, we got a little block here. Gotta wait. There. So the timing here is critical. Sometimes I need to block him and push. Now Sam, come on over here by me. So watch, I have a feel here. There. Keep walking, Sam. You're just gonna stay on the outside of the pen. Good. And ask him to follow a feel here. Good. Ask him to follow a feel. Good. And stop. Perfect. So the tempting thing is to try to ask them to kind of step forward off it, but they're not ready for that yet. So we're just going to keep working these angles. And the first thing I'm looking for is not forward steps, but lateral steps. Can he move either the front end or the hind end? I would also encourage anybody doing this, don't worry about, a lot of people that went through the Pirelli program, they get excited about driving their hindquarters. That's actually way easier than getting them to follow a feel. And I would rather invest time and energy up front on getting them to really understand following a feel before I start driving them, okay? So even though that's the tempting thing to do, and if you got to get him into a trailer or get him to follow his mom somewhere, well then by all means. But as far as training goes, it's all about him following a feel right now. That's the name of the game. Very good. Ooh, there's a couple steps. Now, we'll ask him here to follow a feel. Sam, why don't you come on out here with your mare? Say, I got a feel here. We're kind of stuck. So we're going to use that mare as a little bit of a draw. There, and got him coming forward. Okay, but the secret was I put a feel on the lead rope first. Go ahead and stop there. Put a feel, release. Put a feel, release. Good. Put a feel, release. Now while we're messing with this little guy here, Sam, tell me what's your plan for weaning him off of her?
I have adjacent pens.
Okay.
He actually really loves my gelding Remington.
Perfect. Okay, so he's already with another horse.
Yep.
That's
And
great.
then, I have another mare that's kind of his godmother, so to speak. He hangs out with her more than his mother, I think.
Okay.
And
So-
the three of them will go in a pasture adjacent. And then slowly the three of them will move further away.
Okay. That sounds really good. So I asked that question because a lot of people don't have a good plan for how they're going to wean them. And imagine if you decide, they live there, and you're just going to take the mare and just put her way over there. And now they're freaking out and run the fence line. They go off food, they go off water. And eventually you're like, you know what? And that could be it. You could just leave him there, and now he's stressed out. Yeah. And the very next horse that you put him with, he's going to completely attach to that horse. And now we've increased how much of a herd-bound instinct that horse has. The other scenario would be you start going, oh, they're really stressed, they don't like that, let's put them back together, and we'll do it again tomorrow. So now you put them back together, and now the foal got relief again with his mom, and now, because he was so stressed, now we've made him even more herd-bound. So one of the things I'm a big fan of is having them with other horses they're already familiar with, not moving the foal to a different area, but just putting the mare on the other side of the fence. This is how they do it at Circle Bar. They're out with 10 or 15 other babies and the mares, and they all live in the same area. And then one day they close the gate, mares are on that side of the fence, babies are on that side. Nobody knows any different. And they've just been weaned. Now, eventually, those mares are going to hang out by the fence for a while, but eventually they're just going to kind of wander off. But the foals are already there hanging out with all their buddies. It's such a good, non-traumatic way to get them used to being separated. And it's so helpful because getting horses to not be buddy sour, buddy sweet is one of the most difficult things to deal with. You know, if you take your horse to a horse show or a clinic or something, it can be really frustrating. Well, I kind of like how this is going. I think we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and attach that lead rope. So follow me over here, Sam. And let's see if we can kind of take this to the next level. So I'm going to attach it. We have a lot more control over him with a halter on. So we have to make sure that we don't take advantage of that. And we pick our battles, meaning we don't just set it up and just pull on him one day and just go, okay, you got to follow a feel right this second. I love how confident he is with ropes and people being around him. This is really great. And now that he's learning some yields, it'll be a just right combination to make him a great horse. Okay, so we'll get rid of this. Put a little feel here. So it's just a little different, but it's actually a lot more control when you have the rope down on their nose like this. And so that means I have to be more careful with how I set it up. So I am doing, there's a couple different things that I haven't really talked about. On one hand, I'm doing a bit of a pattern where I walk a circle towards his hindquarters and I ask him to give to it. So I'm not trying to lead him straight off. That would be the most difficult thing. So I'm working these angles and I'm looking for those hind feet to disengage and step over, okay? And then on the flip side, if he takes off and I'm not in a position like right here to stop him, just let him go. And then he got to where he wanted to go and now he's there. Now here's another thing, actually, if your foal at home isn't as tame as this one is, while he's nursing is actually a good time to be petting on him because they have a really big endorphin release while they're nursing. And so you can really get a foal used to being handled and touched while they're nursing. It's actually a great time to kind of take advantage of that. So you just kind of hang out with him here and just pet him. Okay, Sam, so go ahead and just walk her off again around the rail here. And I want to turn him this way, away from the mare. Very good, we made it. And we're going to keep walking here. And what I'm going to try to do is just keep putting a feel on the rope here while he's moving forward. So I'm just timing that strategically. If you could stay on the inside of the round pen here, Sam, just in case he goes running on the other side. And we're just going to keep doing this. So he's a little stuck here, so I put a feel and wait. So what we're doing is we're leveraging the draw from the mare, but I have to have my timing down. If I was just doing this, well then he's just following her. So I put a feel right before she walks off and right before he wants to follow her. And I kind of just leverage that. So Sam, go ahead and stop there. Whoa. Now I'm going to get him turned around here. And now you turn around towards me and we're going to go back the other way. Very good. So I got a little feel here. Good. So just kind of leveraging these things. Okay, go ahead and stop. Oh, so he's feeling a little stuck there. Those moments were going to come up again. Now, I didn't actually instigate that moment. I had a little feel, but he's kind of being a little bit dramatic about it, kind of from the previous experience. So I'm going to keep kind of working the rope and trying to get him to kind of snap out of this and realize that moving backward is not going to be the best answer. So go ahead and take the mare to the inside of the round pen here. So I'm just kind of trying to bring him through that little episode where he got a little locked up and was sure that he had to resist. Go ahead and stop there, Sam. He was sure that he had to resist the halter. There we go. Now I'll go forward. Perfect. Very good. And whoa. Very good. So he kind of came through that. Okay, let's try it this way. Very good. There we go. Getting a few steps here. So I just kind of keep turning until those feet turn loose. And then he gets slack in the rope every time. There we go. So again, there, if he's a little locked up, don't increase the pressure. And if he runs backwards, just go with it and follow it. Don't try to pull on it or hold him. And then go back and work these angles again. Now you can see him yawning. And so this is a big, big lesson for him, right? And so I don't want to go a whole lot longer, but I'm just trying to give you a big enough head start here that this will go pretty smooth for you when you're at home. And the good news is he's so confident that that we can really mess with him here. But he does get locked up from time to time. There, so we'll just kind of talk him out of that. Very good. But we're just about to time out on our training time here, our session, in terms of his timeline. So I'm going to trade you here, Sam.
Okay.
Your turn. See if you can just kind of work those angles and put a little feel. It's hard to say exactly, it's like kind of a little bit of a pull and release. Yep. Pull and release. Pull and release. Go that way a little bit more. Your angle's a little too tight. Go that way. Pull and release. Keep going that way. Your feet that way. And release. Good. Keep going that way. We're trying to get those hindquarters to break loose. Yep. Good. Perfect. Now come back this way. But just a little small feel. Very nice. Very nice.
Good boy.
Super. Big day for him, huh?
Oh man.
So you put a little feel on the halter here. We're gonna walk Mama off. You ask him to follow Mama with the halter. Good. Now you go ahead and turn, walk that way. Super. Super. Is this something you feel like you could set up at home?
Oh yeah. Yep.
All right. Perfect. Now I'll stop here. Now you go ahead and change his direction, and then I'll bring Mama around. Keep going, Sam. Keep going that way. So when he gets locked up, it's more about the hind feet or the front feet moving than a forward step. But when things are going well, when things are set up for success, obviously if we had a halter that fit, that'd be a little better too. When things are set up for success, that's when you can kind of ask him for that forward step, like right now. Put a feel, yeah. Super.
Good boy.
Maybe that's why we call it natural horsemanship. So you're just taking things like he naturally has draw here. So as long as we add that little feel on the halter first, this can get better and better. Okay, now you turn and go that way, Sam. Get a hold of him. Yeah. Put a little feel on it. Stay out there. So you don't want to get too much of an angle that way. There you go. Good. Now forward. Now Mama's following him. How's that feel?
Awesome.
That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, that's great.
Sweet.
Good boy.
Beautiful. So I am supporting him a little bit back here, but Mama's right here. And we just kind of slightly shifted positions. We didn't get real dramatic about it, but we did make it slightly harder. Now Sam, turn and come back this way. Make sure it wasn't an accident. An accident. An accident. Coincidence.
Good boy.
And canter. No, just kidding.
Good boy.
Put a feel. Good, and release. And stop. Can the camera see this well? Okay, go ahead and just lead him straight off that way through the middle. Keep plenty of room between you and him. Good. I'd say he leads a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
Is that an improvement from where we started?
Oh yeah.
Good deal. Okay, so you guys can see we made a big step in progress here with him. He's also kind of timed out. So Sam, I just want you to hang out and pet on him, and then you're gradually just going to take that halter off of him, and we're going to turn him loose and leave him kind of in a good place with just rubbing on him. So Sam, tell me, what did you learn from? So come on over here, just bring him up there a little bit. Now that he leads, get out ahead of him too. You don't want to be too close to him.
Okay.
Get out ahead of him. Let's give him one more step. One more step. There you go. Good. Okay. So tell me, what did you learn? What was different about how I encouraged us to set that up today versus how you did the first time?
Asking him to not yield that forward movement right away.
Oh, you went to forward straight away?
Yes.
Oh no.
You've taught me better than that, Ryan.
Okay.
But just asking, you know, for more of any yield he'll give as far as his hindquarters or on the forehand.
Yep, getting a lateral step first.
Yes.
You got to reduce things to the lowest common denominator. Yeah. Get a step of something.
Off the pole right here.
Yep.
That's pretty much as soon as he felt the pressure there, it was an immediate response, like you said.
Yep.
And
so starting with that lariat rope was helpful tip.
Rope, yeah.
Yep. That was a little more palatable for him. You saw even when I switched to the halter, he got a little more resistful. I started asking for a little more too, because I really wanted to get some forward steps today for Sam, because you're here today, but I'm not going to see you tomorrow.
Yep.
You know, if we had more time, we could do this, but it's life, you know, and so I go, okay, well, how much can we get done today to really set you up for success at home? And I wanted to get some of those forward steps off the halter. But you guys saw we had a little resistance when we hit that, right? Yep. Anything else?
Just when he does get locked up, using his mom and another person with some of that forward movement to get him unlocked and kind of help him through it, not just relying on his own know-how at his age. Let him rely on mom to guide him through that. Yep.
Yep, and the timing there is critical. So that only really works if you put a feel on the halter and then step mom away. Does that make sense? So it's like if you step mom away and then he's going and you're just walking next to him, that's not really teaching him anything. And then you saw how we got the full to be out ahead, and that's really key. We're trying to make it a little harder right away. The next step above that would be you stay still with mom, take that full for a walk. And what I would encourage is to start introducing the idea of patterns. So get on a pattern. I'm going to walk from there to there. We're going to stop, turn around, we're going to walk back. Maybe you have some hay at either end. Maybe you have some grain or something he likes, whatever it is. And you just create a pattern of we're going to go from point A to point B, and that makes the puzzle really easy for them to solve. And then once you got to that point, then you can pretty much go anywhere and troubleshoot as you go. Yep. All right. Any questions for me?
No, I appreciate the tip about moving her to another pasture versus him. Let him have his confidence where he's used to being.
And like right next to him, right next door. Even if you just build a small pen outside of that pen, it's just where he can't have direct access the second he wants to. Yep. Bite-sized pieces. Baby steps. We call that chunking. It's a very good strategy. You know, just break it down into the smallest steps possible. Make it easy, one variable at a time. And keep things simple. All right. Well, Sam, we appreciate you bringing him out. It was fun to work with him, and look forward to seeing where you guys end up down the road. And thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you guys on the next one.